Someone uses a slightly flat tone in a message and your whole day falls apart. Your manager gives you feedback that is genuinely constructive and your brain reads it as confirmation that you're failing and about to be let go. A friend doesn't respond immediately, and by hour 3, you're convinced the friendship is ending. If these experiences are familiar, if you've spent significant parts of your life trying to manage the emotional aftermath of things that other people seem to absorb without incident, today's episode is namely what's actually happening. Welcome to Wisdom from the Porch. I'm GP. This is Wisdom from the Porch. Rejection-sensitive dysphoria is not the same as being sensitive. Sensitivity is a trait. RSD is a specific neurological response pattern associated most commonly with ADHD, though it also shows up in autistic adults and people with a significant trauma history, in which perceived rejection or criticism produces an emotional reaction that is disproportionate in intensity to the actual event. The word dysphoria is important here. This isn't mild disappointment. This is a sudden, overwhelming, often physically felt emotional event. A flood of shame, pain, or panic that arrives with the speed and force of a physical blow. Some people describe it as the emotional equivalent of being punched. And it's triggered not just by actual rejection, but by perceived rejection, a neutral email tone, a look that might mean something, a social situation that's slightly ambiguous. The threat detection system is calibrated to fire on possibility, not certainty. The neurological basis? ADHD involves reduced regulation of the emotional processing system, including the amygdala's threat detection. For most people, a potential negative social signal is registered, evaluated, and modulated before it becomes a full emotional response. But for ADHD brains with RSD, that modulation step is significantly less reliable. The signal bypasses evaluation and goes directly to response. By the time the rational brain catches up and says, actually, that email was probably just written quickly and means nothing, the emotional event has already happened. RSD affects relationships in specific patterns. The anticipatory avoidance, not asking for things, not trying things, not putting creative work into the world, because the prospect of rejection is too painful to risk. The people-pleasing that is not about kindness, but about trying to preempt rejection by being indispensable. The intensity of reaction when rejection does occur, which can end relationships, damage professional reputations, and produce behavior that the RSD sufferer deeply regrets as soon as the flood passes. Here are 3 tools for when RSD fires. The first is the 90-minute rule. Emotional events, including RSD floods, have a neurochemical lifespan of roughly 90 minutes if they're not actively reinforced. If you can avoid acting on the RSD response for 90 minutes, not sending the reactive message, not confronting the person, no withdrawing from the relationship, the intensity will have dropped significantly by then. This isn't suppression. It's delay. The difference between reacting from the peak of an RSD event and responding after it has passed is enormous, and the 90-minute rule creates that window. The second tool is the evidence audit. When RSD fires on a perceived rejection, the brain rapidly generates evidence for the worst-case interpretation. It's doing its job. It's looking for confirmation of the threat. The evidence audit interrupts this by asking for evidence of the alternative. Not denial, evidence. What would I need to see for this to mean what I think it means versus what else it might mean? In most RSD events, the evidence for the catastrophic interpretation is thin. Naming that does not eliminate the feeling, but it gives the rational brain something to hold on to while the emotional flood passes. The third tool is the direct clarification used selectively. For RSD specifically, not knowing is often more painful than knowing. A brief, low-stakes clarification. I just wanted to check in. Are we okay? Ends the ambiguity that feeds the spiral. The key word is low stakes. The delivery has to be calm enough that it does not itself become a source of RSD triggering response. Practice the words when you're not flooded so they're available when you are. I just wanted to check in is a complete sentence and doesn't require an explanation. The reactions RSD produces are real. The pain is real. The experiences that taught your nervous system to scan for rejection at that sensitivity level are real. What is not always real is the threat itself. Learning to hold both of those things, this is genuinely painful, and the threat may not be as present as it feels, is the practice. Your one next step is to identify the situation in your life right now where RSD is most active. One specific context, a relationship, a workplace dynamic, a creative risk you're avoiding, name it. Just naming it changes your relationship with it. Thursday, we're into unmasking, what it actually means to stop performing neurotypical and what that costs when you don't. If this helped even a little, you can follow the show, so these conversations are here when you need them. And as always, thank you to Cloud Microphones for supporting these conversations. This has been Wisdom from the Porch. I'm GP. You're always welcome on the porch.